Hi there, we're still finishing off these mugs. As I said, it's a bit of a process. Okay, so right now I'm gonna put on some handles and that's gonna be it. I'm gonna move the camera so you can mostly see me working. I'm gonna be pulling handles. Some people will get a nicely wedged chunk of clay and they'll just use a tool and drag the tool. Let's say it's a loop tool. They'll drag the loop tool through it and then they have a handle. Then those can be completely uniform. As I've said repeatedly, I don't care about uniform, and I also like to pull a handle, which is the more classic way of creating a handle, and it has the benefit of, again, compressing the clay, because you're going to pull it and squeeze it, and that's going to make the clay a little denser and therefore a little stronger. So that's the technique I use. I have never used the other technique. It seems to produce some nice results. I wouldn't know how to do it. I mean, I guess I could figure it out, but I never have. So we go again to clay at this point. So we've got all of our pots. They've got their chops. They're pretty much ready. The only thing I didn't show you, which I'm not sure I'll make the effort to move it over there, is I will always at this stage, or even when it's slightly, gotta move this, slightly wetter, I always roll my pots kind of hard against a nice, this surface is not so smooth, but against a really nice smooth surface. And the reason that I do that is because it makes the pot sit much more confidently on a flat surface. It gets rid of any last wobble. It also creates the very slightest bevel just at the edge, just right in there. And that bevel, that slight angle, creates a little shadow underneath the foot of the pot. So rather than having the pot just come directly straight down to the table surface, by bending it a little, you just generate this ever so gentle shadow right around the base of the pot. And what that does visually is it seems to lift the pot up off the surface that it's sitting on. It lightens the pot visually. And that's really important to me, so I never forget that phase. And these guys, really, because I'm doing these videos, so it's kind of a different flow for me, they're a little harder than usual, so that may not be quite as pronounced as usual, but it'll still have the effect of really letting that pot sit confidently on the surface. But anyway, now we're back to clay. And I'm gonna need some water. I'm also going to need something to sit on that so that it doesn't tip over. What will that be? Use my sponge bowl. There we go. That'll work. So at this point, I've got some clay. This has been wedged. I'm going to really slam it down here because if you're going to pull a handle, you might as well not start with a square lump, because it's just that much more work. So I always have this way of kind of starting to make this long and thin, and it's just going to make the pulling of it a little easier, a little faster, a little better. I need some nice clear water. Use this. I'm going to wet my fingers. So this surface is called hardy board. It's usually the surface that's used underneath shower tile and stuff like that. It's somewhat absorbent, but it doesn't go all the way through. It's a beautiful surface to work on. I really like it. A lot of people use a surface that's either wood with canvas over it, which I don't like because it produces a lot of dust. For instance, when I was just slamming this, it would have thrown a lot of dust up in the air. I'd have a bit of a lung issue, so that's the last thing I want. So this never gives me dust. All right, so I've now got this elongated lump of clay, and I'm going to move the camera a little more. There we go. And I'm just going to squeeze and pull. and wetting my fingers. And I'm gonna have my fingers in kind of this form for a bit as I just squeeze and press it out. And at about this stage, when it's a little thicker than 1/4 of an inch, I want to be careful of the width that I'm looking at. At this stage, I'm going to want to also take my thumb and run that down the inside a couple times. It is going to make the piece, it's going to give it a little flow that I want, and I kind of like these sharp edges here. And when I get to about that point, I might pull it in a little, give it a little more shape. Maybe too much. I want to look at how these lines are interrelating. And then it's also going to make it a little curved on the back, and that's going to be nicer for your hand to fit around. And at this point, that's probably as much as I need to do right now. I'm going to just hang it over and just hang it over this jar.